The vampires of the old world claim dominion over the mortal remains of all earthly creatures. To die is to surrender oneself to their power. The generals of the Empire claim that the night is always darkest before the dawn. The warrior priests of Sigmar preach that there is hope yet, but they know little of the games immortals play. Patient, cunning, devious, the vampires work to conquer the lands of the living with ancient and corrupted sorcery. Should they succeed in their dread goals, the rays of the sun shall be forever suffocated by the night, and the age of men will be replaced by an age of undeath. The world will be transformed into a ghastly necropolis of mindless and unliving slaves, ruled over by the iron will of the vampire counts. The warriors that mostly comprise the armies of the vampire counts are known throughout both history and legend as those of the unliving brought about by the use of necromancy. Most, if not all, vampires have a certain affinity with necromancy, a unique form of sorcery that derives from the use of the black arts, also known as Dar or dark magic. It is in itself a direct contradiction to the winds of Shaiish, where, while Shaiish follows and embraces the certainty of death, the use of necromancy is meant to evade or strive to prevent it. It is thus a key element within the Vampire Count's armies. When a vampire lord wishes to bring war upon the Empire or against other enemy factions, they would often raise the dead of Sylvania from their graves with either their own sorcerous abilities or from their personal coven of necromancers. These powerful individuals are what keeps the undead army together, for without them, the dark magic that controls and holds these walking corpses together would soon dissipate, often crumbling into simple scraps of rusted armor or broken bones. The bulk of their armies consist almost entirely of raised zombies or armored skeletal warriors. These unliving abominations have not a single flicker of sentience within them, and cannot operate independently without a necromancer or sorcerer to guide them. Although mindless, these undead are nonetheless also fairly resilient to many other factors that might hinder other living armies. Such advantages include not being hindered by the need for food, sleep, or the touch of the cruel elements, as well as having the inability to feel fear, for they lack the sentience to feel such complex emotions. Other than the raised dead, however, the vampire counts have also made extensive use of horrible creatures and grotesque abominations that have taken residence within the lands of Sylvania. These creatures come in all grotesque shapes and sizes, from the towering ghoul kings to the flying horrors of the Vargeists. Through the use of dark magic, these creatures are bound to the will of a particularly powerful necromancer. Due to these creatures having extremely low intellect, they are often as mindless in their advance as any unliving creature, with the only sole motivation in their mind being the consumption of human flesh. Other times they've even bound the souls of the deceased into their service. While such property belongs to the Death God respectively, the Necromancer does not fear the punishments of his actions and would lure these restless souls into his army by means of a ritual involving dark magic. From the wailing banshees to the ethereal hex race, these lost souls have lost their will of control and are forced to do the bidding of their hated master. When engaged in battle, the ability for the vampire to both directly manipulate and control his warriors proved pivotal to their success on the battlefield. With almost methodological planning, these undead warriors would rally into neatly formed ranks and would endure almost anything thrown against them. With the ability to resurrect the fallen almost at a whim, the tactics employed by the vampire counts consist almost entirely on the use of attrition warfare. As the undead ranks absorb the enemy attack, their ranks would be continuously bolstered by freshly resurrected warriors from their own warriors and those of the enemies. Eventually, the dead would so outnumber the living that victory is almost inevitably ensured. However, herein lies the single greatest weakness that comes to all their kind. For should the powerful necromancer that controls the army die, so too will the entire army crumble into ruins.